Hello there, welcome back to the channel, and once again we are revisiting the Andromeda universe, something I have covered several times on this channel, as well as many other science fiction franchises. So before we get into that, after this episode I'm probably going to be returning more to my usual Star Trek based content, because I've been covering a lot of other universes at the moment, and I have a lot of ideas for Star Trek. But that said, if there's any other universes you'd like to suggest me revisiting, including this one, anything I've not covered you'd like covering, leave it in the comment section down below and I'll see if I can get to it. With that said, today's episode is on the pivotal battle of Samsarra. Now, I've gone on record several times that Andromeda is actually a massively underrated show. Some would call it a Star Trek clone. Those people are right, but I mean, it's from the same maker, or at least it's inspired by his ideas that were mostly rejected ideas for Star Trek, but let's not go there. The actual show is excellent. It is really good. It just kind of goes off the rails a little bit towards the end. I think a lot of people agree with my assessments on that. If you don't and you like the later seasons, fucking A, great. I do still like them. I just find the later seasons not as good as the earlier ones. And we're talking right in the middle here. Battle of Samsarra is mid-season 3 episode. But it is not only a pivotal one for the story, it is a pivotal one in the universe, and actually still well within the fray of this is a damn good episode. So, what is the Battle of Samsarra, and why was it so important to the system's Commonwealth and to Dylan Hunt and everybody else? Anyway, so Samsarra, to start with, is a solar system. It's got a colony on it with about 50 to 60,000 civilians living there. And one day, a race called the Pyrians, let's call them the discount bad guy Tholians, which the series needed, come in and they plop some terraforming devices in. They call them pyroformers because the discount Tholians actually live in atmospheres a lot more akin to Venus, extremely high pressure and very warm and sulfurous and generally unpleasant. Not exactly like Venus, but it's definitely not like Earth, so all the oxygen-breathing life on the planet is going to be exterminated. Now, the locals have tried to destroy these pyroformers, but they've been unsuccessful, so they call in the Commonwealth, and along comes the Andromeda Ascendant under the command of Captain Dylan Hunt, who instantly drops to, should I call the Tholians up and go, why have you done this now? Nah, blow them up, which I understand and respect. Blow the fucking things up. So he does. Orbital bombardment destroys all of the pyroforming devices. He then calls the Commonwealth and goes, look, we're going to need to blockade Samsarra because the Tholians, the Pyrians, might come back. And he goes to his office to chill for a bit, and while he's waiting, a load of ships arrive, and he's like, great, our reinforcements are early. And it's like, no, they ain't. It's the Pyrians. Those damn discount Tholians are back. And, impressively, they brought 2 ships with more pyroforming devices on board them to drop onto the planet. He also discovers pretty quickly that the emissary of the Pyrians isn't a Pyrian. She appears to be, at least to us, and for some reason Dylan and everyone else doesn't immediately realize it, the same species as Transgemini, which makes her, spoilers, a sort of what we call an avatar of a star, or a sort of higher being, for lack of a better term, within the Andromeda universe. But their race aren't exactly that. They're more nuanced and more complicated, and that's quite an interesting story. Might cover them again, let me know if you want me to. But he's like, damn, right, we're going to have to take on all these Pyrians, plus her, and she brings all kinds of advantages. For example, she'll be the reason that the Pyrians knew to bring the terraforming devices back with them again, that the Andromeda will have destroyed them. It was basically, there hadn't been enough time for the Pyrians to know they needed more and to bring them. So he decides to harass them in a guerrilla-style fight. The Pyrians initially are ignoring him, and he's using drones and slip fighters to sort of harry them and annoy them and try to keep them away from Samsarra so they can't deploy the atmospheric processors. But as they get close, he has to order the evacuation of the planet because he can't protect the civilian population of the planet of Samsarra as well as engage the Pyrians. Well, in the meantime, he's basically waiting for the High Guard reinforcements to arrive. And initially, as I say, the Pyrians are kind of knocking him aside and ignoring him, but he's having some success harrying them and trying and keeping them at bay. Now, eventually, the Commonwealth reinforcements arrive, and it's not in, the exact nick of time, of course it is, where he exactly needed them. So this is a large combined Commonwealth fleet of other High Guard warships, Nietzschean vessels, which I loved to see them working with others and not just being generic bad guys themselves, as well as a few other member species, Perseids and others, who all kind of turn up, and they begin to engage the Pyrian fleet. Now, collectively, these are at least a match for the Pyrians, so this battle could initially go either way, but every move he makes is countered. He comes up with actually a pretty good strategy for engaging the Pyrians, where he plans to use a combination of Commonwealth support ships, High Guard main battleships to engage the main Pyrian vessels, while he will go in and destroy the vessels carrying the atmospheric processors. Because if they don't have them, then there's no point in the Pyrians continuing the battle. They won't be able to actually convert the planet, although in my opinion they could just hold the planet until they could bring more in again. But the plan's solid, and initially seems to be working, until yes, he's successful in destroying the damn things, but then Pyrian reinforcements have dropped out of slipstream on the other side of the system, have slowly made their way across, and they hit at exactly the worst time, while their back was turned to them, and multiple Commonwealth ships are destroyed in the engagement, resulting in huge losses and a quick rout. But both sides have taken a bit of a beating at this point. They've both lost things. They both had a bit of a victory and a bit of a loss. Neither side is still winning. Now, initially, because the civilian population had been evacuated, Dylan's kind of the opinion of, what are we even fighting over? But then he's contacted by the Commonwealth directly, and we find out that the Pyrians are actually attacking multiple other worlds at different locations across the galaxies simultaneously. But this is where they started. And he comes to the conclusion after a little chat with Trance, who tells him no matter what, he cannot allow Samsarra to fall to the Pyrians. It's pivotal. It's all dependent on this. Everything's riding on it. He can't lose here. He has to win no matter the cost. So he takes from that if he can beat them here, maybe he beats them everywhere. So they'll withdraw completely. So he once again hatches a plan. We're going to engage the Pyrians before they can bring in more pyroformers, before they can really take the planet like they want to. We are going to continue to fight them. So he engages and manages to breach a hole in the Pyrian lines, does some damage, but he takes an absolute scorched earth, pure poisoning the well, spit in your face, you motherfuckers approach to winning this battle. He arms a Nova bomb and smashes it into Samsarra. This is a world much like Earth, rich and teeming with life, and as well as habitable cities and other such things. A valuable world. And he Death Stars that planet. It's gone. Destroyed. And at that moment, the Pyrians and Trance's people realize the Commonwealth is going to do whatever it takes to win. That was the statement he was trying to make. Yes, it's a sacrifice, but it's a sacrifice we're going to make because you are not having it. You're not going to come in as bullies across the galaxy and tell us what you're going to take from us, and we're just going to take it up the rear. So, quite, good bit of respect there to Captain Hunt and to the Commonwealth. And the Pyrians then sue for peace. They enact some ancient treaty they had with the old systems Commonwealth that they kind of assuming is still standing, because Hunt has already tried to invoke this to try and actually negotiate, which is something they simply wouldn't do. Now they want to talk. And they withdraw from the other attacks across the other galaxies, and it's kind of over, I guess. So that is the Battle of Samsarra. The reason the battle is so pivotal is because multiple factions across the galaxy are in play here. We're talking a massive 3D game of chess. You've got the Commonwealth, the Nietzscheans, the Pyrians, the Magog, the Harbinger of the Abyss, and Trance's people, just to name a few, all with, a piece of the pie. All of them with some agenda or objective that they want. The ultimate goal for everyone, realistically, is to defeat the Magog. They don't want that world ship turning up and killing everybody. Pretty much that's bad for everyone. But the Trance's people don't have the same faith in the Commonwealth and in Captain Hunt that Trance does. So they basically were looking to back a different horse, and they felt that the Pyrians, as a somewhat underrated military giant. See, unlike the Nietzscheans, the Pyrians were not big conquerors, or they typically weren't very flashy. Again, the discount Tholians were very xenophobic and typically quite territorial, but what they were was extremely powerful, and it was like poking the dragon. They knew that the Pyrians had the military might, maybe not the numbers, but if they were given enough resources and a bit of time and some guidance, the Pyrians could improve their numbers, build more ships, expand their territory and resources, and become the military power the galaxies needed to defeat the Magog. See, from their point of view, the Magog were anti-life. The Pyrians, yeah, they weren't the best, and they would probably destroy a lot of things, but they wouldn't destroy everything. But quite frankly, as long as the Pyrians continue, good prevails in the galaxy. The Pyrians are not abject evil like the Magog. So, lesser of two evils, well, not in the same way being truly evil. So they thought, we'll back them. They will be able to defeat the Magog because we think they're more likely to be able to do it. The Commonwealth simply doesn't have the stones. But Hunt proved at the Battle of Samsarra, which is why Trance was like, you have to win here. He proved that they did. They did have the gall. They did have the cojones to actually do what had to be done. And that's why the battle was so pivotal and so important to the future survival of the galaxies. To bring myself back out of universe, it is such a shame that after this, the show started to say it began its downward spiral. This is a definite high point in the show. Not only was it an extravaganza, a feast of space battles, which is always fun, but it was intelligent space battles. This wasn't just slugging it out with some Nietzscheans over protecting some convoy and a love interest for Captain Hunt, who would once again fall to her knees and beg him to marry her. No, that's the everyday. That's Tuesdays. This was a Thursday. This was superior writing. This episode is actually exceptionally good. Not only, again, do we have all the space battles, but there's a point to them. There are stakes. There's setting up of future storylines, future events, as well as somewhat, not necessarily ending previous ones, but expanding existing storylines. Everything about this episode was what Andromeda could do at its best. It was excellent, truly excellent, and unfortunately it did just continue to go downward after this. But the Battle of Samsarra itself, fantastic, absolutely fantastic battle, fantastic episode, well written, well acted, it's excellently paced, and you are taken through it. It's not over like that. It's not the Andromeda to the rescue. The Andromeda was going to get trounced. It actually took effort. It took the Andromeda getting beaten back a few times before the Commonwealth had to come in and save it. Traditional enemies, the Nietzscheans, were some of the saviors. The actual episode is truly fantastic and extremely good and well made. The CGI is a bit ropey, but come on, it's early 2000s. But the actual story, which is what matters, great. And if you were to be introduced to Andromeda through an episode like this, you would think Andromeda was one of the best sci-fi shows you've ever seen. And quite frankly, for storyline-wise, up until the later seasons it is. I'm going to stop saying that now. I really am annoyed that they went so far off the rails in the later seasons, though. But, all that said, we are now approaching the end of this episode. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. Everyone that subscribes to the channel, it is very much appreciated. I know, very recently upon upload of this one, I recently cleared 4,100 subscribers, which is, again, kind of shocking, because I'm just a bald dude, generic bald YouTuber who just enjoys sci-fi and talking about sci-fi. It's actually really nice that I've built at least some kind of community here, which is kind of cool and extremely unexpected. So thank you to everyone that has subscribed previously and is enjoying these videos, and to the apparently 80% of people that continually watch these videos and don't subscribe. Thank you to you too. I don't really care. You don't want to subscribe? That's your call. I hope you enjoy the videos though. Still like. With that said, we are at the end of this episode. Let me know your thoughts on the Andromeda. Do you agree, disagree with me that it kind of went off the rails, or that this episode is genuinely this good? Because, again, it was nice to see. Dylan Hunt isn't the beginning and end of everything. He actually needed help. There was some humility in this episode. There was actual stakes. And again, it took cumulative effort and was some, there was just character growth throughout this episode. For all of them to shine at doing something that they did well. And it's just a great episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And with that said, we're at the end now. So thank you for watching. Bye-bye.